Hey, this is Sasha, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Stocks. And in this episode, we're going to go back into some technical analysis basics. We'll take a look at the cup and handle pattern. This pattern is a little bit different. It is a reversal pattern and also a continuation pattern. So we'll take a look at it and just show you kind of what it looks like. We'll look at the previous trend, the volume projections, and some entry points and some tips. So overall, the pattern, if you're looking at kind of the bars, it's gonna, in a way, create kind of this rounding movement in a stock. And then what you'll do is it'll pull back slightly, then eventually go out and break out into higher prices. So if you're looking at this kind of on a tick basis, you'll get kind of this movement that's a little bit, up and down, but it's rounding the bottom. When you're looking at kind of the resistance level of this stock, you're basically taking these swing points of where this goes, and you're taking a look also of where the end of the cup goes. And then what you have here is this little pullback of the handle. So that's really what creates kind of this cup and handle pattern. Initially, the trend could be from the lower prices, and it could come up, and then you'll pause, and then you move higher. But it could also come from higher prices, where then eventually, in order to change direction and go into higher prices, it starts out and it becomes a kind of a reversal pattern, right? So if you're starting from higher prices and then you pull back, you round out, you pause, it's a digestion pattern, and then it moves higher. That would be a reversal pattern. A continuation pattern is, well, you're starting at lower prices, you're moving higher, then the stock needs to pause. You pause a bit, you create this rounding cup and handle pattern, and then you move higher again. So that's kind of what it looks like as far as just a basic cup and handle pattern is concerned. As far as entry points go and the volume, when we look at volume, typically, you have a good amount of volume initially, right? So this is high or strong volume. Whether you're moving in upward or downward, you have fairly strong volume because that's what creates kind of the move. Eventually, that volume slowly starts to decline here in this cup and handle area. But as you start moving in the next direction, sometimes you'll see a little bit of increase in volume picking up because you're just going to start to move to that next breakout point. And then again, when you see this pullback of that handle, you'll see probably light or weak volume as well. And then again, as you move into higher prices and break out, you'll probably see some more strong volume. Sometimes that strong volume can be more accelerated and just slowly gets there. Other times it can just pick up very quickly because you're breaking above this resistance level. So your entry points here would really be, normally the standard is right above that resistance level. So that's kind of the entry point. You could go ahead and get it as, if you draw kind of a descending trend line on this handle part, you could create an entry point here, but that's kind of an early entry point in that area, simply because you don't know if it's going to continue moving lower. So that's typically what you're looking at. If you're going to look at a projection, the projection is from that resistance level or that swing point all the way down to that base of the cup. And then you could take that and go from that next level of resistance, okay, all the way up to the top. And this could be kind of your target of where that stock could move. So that's a projection. So you can see pattern is not too complicated. All it does is just kind of round and slowly digest. In a way, it's kind of like a sideways pattern. You're just moving sideways to digest the move. The difference here is you sometimes have some buyers coming in from looking at value, and then other sellers are slowly selling. So there's not a lot of strong action in any direction. And that's why it's just a soft, cushiony kind of a rounded area rather than boom, like a quick bounce or a quick rejection. Instead, it's much more soft and cushioned because there's not a lot of huge action or news that happens. If we look at it kind of the opposite approach, kind of an inverse cup and handle or an upside down version, you also have the same thing that can happen right here as you have this upside down cup. You have that movement there and then a further lower in prices sell-off. This one also very similar to the previous one. You have your support point here, Your entry point would be a break in this support. So that would be your entry area. Your target and projection is also from that tip or the bottom. So let's say this is our base now, and you go there, you move that over here, you're kind of looking at a target in this range for the stock. Volume also very similar, strong on the breaks, breakdowns when there's massive movements. Again, this one could also come from, let's just say, higher prices or from lower prices. So typically it'll move this one when you see that cup and handle upside down, typically you see that rounding top and then it rolling over, kind of a reversal pattern. So I've seen it more of a reversal pattern than kind of a continuation pattern. It can be both. But the reason it's more of a reversal pattern is because you have that slow base from, let's just say, a normal cup and handle pattern is you're moving down from higher prices, you have massive sell-offs, and to turn that boat around, that cup and handle takes a while. These are pretty big and long patterns, whereas normally a pattern might be 6 to 8 weeks. This one could be maybe 8 to 12 weeks. It just takes much more time because, again, it's more cushiony, it's softer, there's not a lot of dramatic movements in there, so it just takes a little bit longer to digest. Hey, so welcome to the screen, and I just want to show you a quick little example of a cup and handle pattern that's possible to evolve. Now this one's a little bit longer of a time frame right now than a standard cup and handle pattern. Typically you might see 8 to 12 weeks, maybe a little longer on a cup and handle pattern, but this just goes to show you that, hey, you could still see kind of a cup and handle type of pattern on a longer chart. You could see it on a shorter term chart, longer term chart. The longer the chart pattern, the more reliable for the long term that pattern is, right? So if you see it on the daily chart, that distance or range that the stock may go into higher prices might be a shorter time frame or for a less time than maybe a longer chart. So here we're looking at a Twitter of a 1 week or a weekly chart time frame. So looking at it from about 2015, 2016, you can see we kind of have this cup that's being created, or a kind of a saucer pattern. And as you take a look at this, you'll see that we eventually get into this little pullback of this little handle. So there's kind of our cup pattern, and then there's our little handle. Now the handle pullback is going to be minimal. It could be just 20 to 30% of the overall cup pattern. But then what happens slowly after that little handle part is you'll also notice this volume starting to build, and eventually we get into that point where we get a breakout and we get nice volume coming in, and that was your entry point. Now we got back into this cup pattern here with this stock. So we are still moving kind of in this sideways range. So I'm not sure if this pattern will fully evolve and digest itself to, making those higher prices, because sometimes those patterns never evolve. Even if you have, let's say, kind of a double top or a triple bottom, sometimes they just continue to move lower. But in this case, you can see here's kind of the pattern. We've created the pattern. There's a little handle, and we'll see if we continue moving into higher prices with the stock over time. But just to give you a little idea, that's basically what the pattern will look like. You'll get that little pullback on that handle, and there's overall your kind of cup and handle pattern. So thanks for joining me today in this week's video. I hope you found it helpful to looking at the cup and handle pattern. And if you want to see other great training videos like this one on technical analysis, option trading, day trading, a lot of other cool trading videos, then be sure to sign up to our newsletter list so you don't miss a beat on any other videos. Click this link right here, enter your name and email address, and when you get there, you'll be signed up and ready to go. You can also click the link in the description below this video as well. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.